board meeting to order. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is our usual first item of business. We need to amend the agenda to delete item B1, student recognition, summer residential, governor's school and foreign language academy, and to add an addendum to item C2, the personnel report. So, it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda as previously described. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. First is brings us to item A, public comments. We do have some public comments. Before I call the first individual up, need to read our usual disclaimer. Persons appearing before the school board will not be allowed to campaign for public office or promote private business ventures, and should not use profanity or vulgar language or gestures, make comments about a public official or an employee that are not related to his or her official duties, engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, role, and or responsibilities of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. The speaker representing a group shall limit his comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of his or her presentation. A group may have no more than one spokesperson. The total allotted time for public comments at school board meetings is 30 minutes. Public comments are reserved for the public to provide input. The board does not respond to comments, answer questions, or otherwise engage in discussion at this time. First up is Ms. Wendy Yates.
Wendy Yates, and I'm speaking on behalf of a group of veteran teachers. Good evening. My name is Wendy Yates. I have been teaching in Lynchburg City Schools for 26 years. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. This is a follow-up presentation on the one you heard 2 weeks ago by John Meadows regarding the inequities we see in the salary scale. Our goal tonight is to continue to enlighten you on these inequities. At the last presentation, current salary scales were compared to 2008-2009. It was pointed out that steps 0 and 37 have seen a 16% increase, while steps 12 through 22 have only seen a gain of less than 1% over those 8 years. The eye-opener was that steps 23 to 30 have seen a decrease of 7 to 9%. This evening, I will share a second chart which compares gains and losses between 2009 and 2017. You should have this chart in front of you. I would like to compare 4 groups of teachers we named as novice, seasoned, veteran, and retiring. We will first look at the third column titled Average, which is the average yearly increase of each step for the last 8 years. Steps 0 to 11, the novice teachers, have seen an average yearly increase of up to $6,150 per year. Steps 12 to 22, the seasoned teachers, have only seen an average increase of up to $213. This is far from $6,000. Steps 23 to 30, the veteran teachers, have seen an average yearly decrease of as much as $4,420 per year. Steps 31 to 37, the retiring teachers, have seen an average yearly increase of up to $4,225 per year. Under today's pay scale, seasoned and veteran teachers have not and will not keep pace with the cost of living increases. So how bad is it for Lynchburg teachers? According to the Social Security Administration, the cost of living increase from 2008 to 2016 was 8.8%. Lynchburg salaries for seasoned teachers, steps 12 to 22, increased only 0.5%. You heard that right. Cost of living increased 8.8%, while seasoned teachers only increased 0.5%. If that sounds bad, veteran teachers, steps 23 to 30, is much worse. Veteran teachers' salaries decreased by 9% over that same 8-year period. This makes it a net loss of almost 18% in 8 years. How can we motivate qualified teachers while promising an 8% loss in their buying, an 18% loss in their buying power? Let me now highlight the total gains or losses of 4 specific salary steps over 8 years. One example from each of the 4 teacher groups. So we're looking at the second column on the chart. From the novice group, a step 7 teacher has increased a total of $8,192. From the seasoned group, a 17-year teacher has only increased a total of $1,566. From the veteran group, a step 30-year teacher has decreased by $35,363. From the retiring group, a step 37-year teacher has increased $33,805. From all appearances, it looks like money is being shifted from the veteran teachers group to the retiring teachers group. Why is this disparity allowed to exist between the veteran teachers and the retiring teachers? It is disheartening and demotivating. In summary, novice teachers are being financially supported. Retiring teachers have received substantial rewards. At best, seasoned and veteran teachers' financial considerations have been dismissed. Next steps, what we're asking for is interaction and feedback on steps the board is taking to improve this for those of us who are seasoned and veteran teachers and have given much or most of our lives to the education of the children of Lynchburg. As teachers, we want to be cared for. We feel like the care has slipped. Please, please address the salary inequities immediately. One final note. You were asked last time how you would respond if your salary were to go back to that of someone doing the same job in 2008-2009. Most people would be upset and irritated. Those in steps 12 to 22 are barely making any more than someone at that same step back in 2008-2009. And worse yet, those in steps 23 to 30 would be far better off to go back to that salary that's almost 10 years old. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Emily Staton. Good evening.
I'm Emily Staton. I'm from Dunbar Middle School, and I am here to talk about the dress code. On Monday, I was in the cafeteria, and a teacher that is not one of my teachers pulled me aside and told me that I was not allowed to wear this dress without a sweater or something to go over it because of the straps, and it was showing my shoulders. I think that that is unfair, and I don't think that it is a major problem for me to have my shoulders showing. I don't think it's a distraction. It is definitely not making it so that I'm unable to learn, for I'm a straight A student. And as long as I'm learning and I'm safe, then I don't see why it is a problem. And I also don't think that dress codes are very fair, because they not only offend girls, but they could also offend boys, because it is saying that pretty much they're going to be distracted by something like this. And most dress codes are based on religious and cultural differences, and everyone has different views of modesty. So how should I know what somebody might think is modest and what I think is modest, because many people have many different views. Another thing is the current dress code is very vague. The older dress code was not as good. It was a lot less vague, but also much stricter and harder to follow. But I really appreciate the changes that have been made. But the new dress code is very vague and harder to follow, because, once again, everyone has different definitions of modesty. I also think that exposed shoulders don't prevent learning, that more stricter and harder to follow dress codes and uneven enforcement of the dress codes is what may affect learning. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to Part B of the agenda tonight, special presentations. First up is B2, Student Recognition National History Day Competition. Dr. Brabrand.
Thank you, Dr. Nillis. National History Day is a competition we've been involved in for several years in Lynchburg City Schools. And I'm proud to share with you that we have Lynchburg City School students who competed at the state level for Virginia History Day just this past month at the Virginia Historical Society in Richmond, and qualified for nationals by being awarded first or second place. So what I'd like to do is to call up the students and then let them be recognized by everybody here and by the public at large for their outstanding achievement, and then we can have Ms. Babb take the picture of the whole group. So first up, from E.C. Glass High School, the subject was Ping Pong Diplomacy, the Stand, the Friendship, the Legacy. It was a documentary in the category of Senior Individual. Lauren Brown received second place in the state. Congratulations. Stay right here, stay right here. Next, we have a team from Heritage High School. They did their presentation on Jacob Reese, behind the scenes of the American Dream. They were in the senior group for exhibits, and they received second place at the state level. And that's the team of Colin Brooker, Rashid Christian, Manan Shah, and Muhammad Tahir. Please come up from Heritage High School. Mr. Brooker, Rashid, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Shaw, congratulations to you, sir. And Mr. Tahir, congratulations. Great job. And then one more we have from E.C. Glass. The project was We Are the Stonewall Girls, taking a stand for gay rights in America. They were in the website category for the senior group, and this team from E.C. Glass took second place in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Axel Jablonski and Margaret Kicklighter. Congratulations.
He's not here.
Oh, will you give Maggie this then for me?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. And I'd ask the board to stand, and let's give these young folks a big round of applause. Students, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd shake hands with the board members here and just get a chance to let them off you. Congratulations. Great job. Awesome. You guys rocked.
Thank you.
Well done, man.
Thank you.
It's great. You guys had the biggest scream in Richmond. I was there in the back.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. Congratulations, Ms. Brown. Well done.
That brings us to our next student recognition for Career Technical Education Award winners. Dr. Brabrand.
Thank you, Dr. Nillis. We don't just have outstanding achievement in our traditional categories of English, science, social studies, and math, but our career tech program is very, very strong. And we have winners from regional and state levels with this. First, from EC Glass High School, we have several winners for FBLA, and I'd like to also recognize that Karen Bucklew is the FBLA sponsor. Fourth place in the state, regional champion in economics from EC Glass, Brian Mandeville. Brian's not here. You want to come and accept it in his honor? All three had athletic obligations. Goodness gracious. Well, let me share the remaining two. The regional champion in securities and investments from EC Glass, Grayson Pierpoint. And the regional champion in business calculations, Carter Cundiff.
All right, there you go.
So please be sure they get these presented at the school in the appropriate manner. Thank you so much. We also have, as part of our spotlight on CTE, we have the Governor's Challenge in Economics. For this program, Jay Whitaker is the sponsor. And we had team champions at the state contest at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, and I'd like to call forward this winning team. Olivia Deddens. Jay, is it just you? Oh my goodness. Well, they're all in sports too, huh?
Well, rehearsals, I think, and stuff like that. So.
Well, we have Olivia Deddens, Henry Newton, Ethan Snyder, and Chelsea Williams. Let's give all of these students a big round of applause. Jay, thank you. We also have a program, Skills USA, and I believe Kim Hansen is our sponsor for that. We have two regional champions and second place winners at the state level for Skills USA. In the technical drafting category, second place in the state and regional champion, Chloe Singh. Chloe, you're at Heritage, is that correct?
EC Glass.
EC Glass. 1 out of 2. I can't. Congratulations. And stay right here. We also have Carson Woods, second place in the state, regional champion in technical math. Carson's not here either. Well, let's let you get a big picture with the school board. Congratulations. Chloe, if you want to say hello to each school board member, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Very proud of you.
Do you want to come up and take a picture?
No.
Absolutely. Why don't you take a picture? Cindy, are you? Cindy still here? Come on, you're a sponsor. You made all this happen. Take a picture real quick. Thank you. And I do want to say, and we did it here, and I should have probably done it earlier, and we'll work on doing that in the future. Behind all of these programs, National History Day, are teachers and teacher sponsors who push kids above and beyond in the classroom, and that's what we have too with this Career Tech program. And this is how we're getting our kids college and career ready, and they're not just striving, they're thriving in these programs, and they are seeing success at a regional and state level, and we're very proud of them and the teachers that support them. Did I have one more on the back? I did. I don't believe we have a certificate, but I do want to extend congratulations to EC Glass's high school culinary arts program teacher, Renee Stevens, and her students. The Royal Blue Cafe has been selected as the top CTE program in the region and has been nominated as the best CTE program in the state by the Governor's Creating Excellence Awards. The winner of the award will be named on June 8th, so we'll know something shortly for a future school board meeting. Hopefully we'll have a presentation for you then. Congratulations to them.
Yep. Okay, that brings us to item B4, update on schools denied accreditation. Dr. Brabrand.
Yes, we have tonight for you information regarding the work in progress at Lincoln Middle School and T.C. Miller Elementary School for Innovation. We know that schools are much deeper than their labels, and I think you're going to be thoroughly impressed with the hard work that both these principals and their staffs are doing. So we'll hear from both schools, and then I'll have a little summary of our latest meeting with the Virginia Department of Education. As a reminder, this is one of the things that we've agreed to do with the Virginia Department of Education, is to bring these schools to you on a monthly basis with some form of an update of what's going on.
Good evening, everyone. I am Nancy Claudio, principal at Lincoln Middle. Thank you for having us back again. Tonight we're going to just do a quick summary on where we are with our PLC-TLC cycle, which is professional learning community and also the teacher-learner cycle. This is something that was initiated a few years back to get everybody focused on what we need to think about when we are planning our lessons for our students. It was a need. We definitely needed to have the teachers focus, and especially focus on the state standards, and this cycle allows us to do so. And I'm sure you have seen this cycle before in some of the other presentations, but this is, on your right side, you will see what a PLC should look like every time the teachers get together, and the support that may be with them, and where they start. So it all comes down to the unpacking of the standard. What are we going to do with that standard? How are we going to present it? How do we know it was presented well by student criteria for success? What are we going to talk about after we see the assessment, and then dive a little deeper? If you look on the left-hand side of the slide, that's how we rate ourselves according to a rubrics that was given to us. So when we began this cycle, we talked about where are we? Are we not started at all? Are we starting? Are we deepening? Or are we embedding? You know, when I started 2 years ago, there were many of my groups that were still at the 1 and 2 mark, because they didn't quite understand what the expectations were and what it meant to really dive deeper within with the teachers that they work with. One, there was a cultural problem with the teachers even working together, and I think that problem has been alleviated. And also, I think through the support of the division and the professional development that has been offered, they do understand what the cycle is and what they should do to value their time when they are together. There are 3 different types of PLCs that we focus on at Lincoln Middle. One is the grade level, which could be either all the 6th grade teachers, all the 7th grade, all the 8th grade. Department by subject, meaning all the 4 core for all 3 levels meeting, and then subject by grade level. So that's really where the meat of the meeting can take place for each individualized student. These are some of the things that we do at our grade level meetings. At the grade level meetings, all 3 administrators are at that meeting every week. We meet every Tuesday, and these are the things that we discuss. It starts with the Master Teacher is a professional development program that we use this year, and I did talk about that at our first meeting. But we also have guidance in on that meeting, and they give us any updates, especially if we ask for parent meetings to be set, or individualized students that might be struggling, to make sure that everybody's list have the same names so that we can all focus. It is very data driven, and we talk about individual students at that grade level, because all the teachers work with the same students. So we're trying to make sure that we're seeing a cross section of the child, where their needs might be, where their strengths may be, and how we can help each other. We talk about remediation ideas if we're finding that students are not working, and strategies, as well as assessments. And this is the important piece, because if we're not asking them for the right feedback, we're not going to know if they're aligned with the standard, and that's really where the SOL, and us meet at where the rubber meets the road. The next type is the department by subject. Again, this is the whole math department, science, history, reading. We meet together. Next one, sorry. We do look at, first, if you look at the top, where we started this year in the department is they rated themselves as a 2, and we have now moved up to a 3, which means we're not fully embedded yet, but we're deepening in our understanding of when we are together as a subject, what are we going to do? And these are some of the things that we cover. We definitely talk about vertical alignment so that the different levels understand what the students need before they move on. Also, say 8th grade, we'll talk to 7th grade, hey, we're seeing this as a weakness, can you make sure that you cover that before they get to us? So there's a lot of cross-conversation of what we can do within a subject on how to build the students' capacity. We are much better at building assessments now. That was not on the table at all 2 years ago. They talked about a standard, but everybody gave a different assessment, so we were not comparing apples to apples. So that has definitely has grown. Again, that is a data-driven conversation. We talk about what software is being used, what online remediation can be used, and then, of course, we talk about not only division, information from the division assessments, but also state assessments. We are very aligned now to talk about the outcomes so that we know where we're going to go at the next step, so the next outcome will be even better, and that is by department. So you can see that in many of the levels, whether it be department or subject, we talk about the same thing. We just share different views and different strategies according to how large and how small that group may be. Now, we still have goals. I have to say, just so far, the one SOL that we're certain of, and it had a lot to do with the PLC, with the division coaches coming in helping, is that our writing assessment for the state, we had the largest increase this year. We had an 11-point increase on the federal level and a 10-point increase on the state level, and that was the largest increase for the division. So we're very proud of that. We hope we can continue that with our other results. But through the growth in our PLCs, I believe moving forward, we will continuously see growth in our student outcome because there's more absolute focus with the students. Some of the goals for next year is to continue to use the rubrics that was distributed by the division so the teachers can stay focused on what that group goal is. Also to try to get the administrators, now you know that I'm stepping out as the administrator, but the administrators remaining, we did discuss this and they felt the administrators need to get in those PLCs more to make sure that they are staying focused. So that everybody can get to that 4th level, which is fully embedded in that PLC, TLC cycle. And how they're going to know, are they going to do more peer observations, which they did this year, and many teachers walked away with a more positive outlook of what their capacity was when they can look at what their counterparts were doing. And the way they're going to know if our PLCs and TLC is working, they are going to look at the 2017 results and compare them to next year's results. So it was a need. It is definitely becoming a bigger part of who all our schools are, but I do believe it was one of the piece at Lincoln Middle that allow us to have the growth that we have had up to this point. So I thank you for your time. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I would just like to acknowledge Principal Claudia that you obviously are doing some fine work over there because a young lady by the name of Aaliyah Page, she's a 6th grader at Lincoln Middle School, and she scored a 591 out of 600 on her reading SOL test. And so obviously doing something right.
We have, I believe, 6 students that scored a perfect 600, which is up 5 from last year. So we're getting there. You know, little steps, sometimes bigger steps, but I believe by them working together and using this rubric and this this style of working together, I think is what's going to get us where we need to be.
Ms. Carter?
Can you explain the difference between deepening and embedding?
Deepening is, if you look back at slide 2, deepening is they are now building assessments together. They are discussing data. They're starting to look at what they have done to get them to that point. To be fully embedded, you have to look at it and be so refined in the detail of saying, okay, what do we need to do differently with this instructional strategy? Be able to be self-critiquing on what needs to improve. I think that they're, at this point, and they believe they're at a point of, they're building the assessments, they're using the data to help a student move forward. I think fully embedded, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, Jay, but in my opinion it is that the teachers fully believe in this system, and they take it from the student not knowing anything to the student getting that 591 or a 600 on an SOL. So the fully embedded is the whole school is there, and that all groups are working, because even within a group there's different levels. It's to have everybody fully engaged and fully understanding the full 7 steps to get to the 8th step, which is problem solving for each individualized student. Because that's really what this takes you to, is an individual, not a whole group. The individual gives us the full outcome, but it's the individualized to help with student achievement.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question on,
Yes, sir.
on the assessments. It seems like you should assess regularly, but then on the other hand, you don't want to necessarily have the kids that are being assessed all the time and taking. So how does that?
Well, assessment
happen?
is a very broad term.
Right.
Sometimes it could just be a teacher walking around the classroom looking at teacher's work. We do a lot of formative assessments where there's actually games or an online web game that they can play, or thumbs up, thumbs down. And then of course you do have the division benchmarks as well as the state SOL. And then an end of unit assessment is a full picture. But our assessment, and these groups meet weekly. So they are constantly talking about what they did yesterday. Because when we talked at my first meeting, our teachers do daily lesson plans so they can adjust them for tomorrow according to what they learned from their students today. So the assessments come in different size packages. Right. And some have more value and more weight to who's looking at them, but the teachers use all of them to determine what's the next best step for their students.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Come on up.
You got me? You get me? All right. So, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Amy Huskin, and I'm principal at TC Miller, and thank you all for having me back to give you an update on how TC Miller is moving forward to restoring us to full accreditation at our school. And we are excited about the things we have going on, and I'll share a few of the things that we have going on. So, one of the critical components of our school improvement plan is a detailed plan for how teachers will work together. And again, we are, just like Nancy has said, we're focused on our professional learning communities. It's not enough just to form the teams, but really we have been focused on the process of developing those teams and where each team is in their own growth. So again, you'll hear some of the similar things that Nancy has talked about, but we have been, again, focused this year primarily on where each team is and the process of, as Dr. Brabrand always says, at where we are in the getting better process. So we will talk about that, and I'll be talking to you a little bit more in the details of what that process has looked like here at TC Miller this year. So. A little bit of this is hard to see, but these are the actual results. We've really been getting in the weeds of the data this year, and these are the results of our survey. We did a beginning of the year with each PLC. Where are you? Where are you at each step of this process? Where are you as a team at unpacking standards, at developing assessments, at where are you at analyzing your data, and all 6 of the pieces. And we did it again at mid-year. And then after third quarter, I went in and we meet and we talk about it. Where are you? And again, the critical piece to all this is absolute transparency, because you can't get better if you can't be honest about where we are. And some of the teams where they thought they were, sometimes I had to have real crucial conversations saying, oh, come on, friends,
maybe not. You know, this is really what it looks like.
So Dr. Husky,
Yes.
for that?
Sure.
So the first column is the teachers by each grade level, K through 5, saying where they think they are on the rubric when school started in August. Right? Then the next one is in January, you know, a semester's gone by, how do
done
they
some
think
work.
they've grown? Are they still where they were at the beginning? Do they think they've grown? And then you,
At the
which
end
was
of
one
third
of our
quarter.
strategy levers for all of our schools, but then you as the administrator came and you gave what you perceived as where they would be on the rubric. It might have been a match, it might have been higher than what they thought, or it might have been
tough on
lower.
themselves. Yeah, some people are a little harder on themselves than maybe I would be. But all of this, the critical piece in all of this is we can make data sheets, but the critical piece in all of this is the conversations around all of this and the work that's being done in the professional development, and I'll get to those pieces. But again, as we move through each one of these steps, as we talked about, you know, as each team would come, it was about doing the work each week. Okay, this week we're going to create an assessment this week. It was committing to the work of come prepared to create an assessment, come prepared this week to, you know, look at the data in the stoplight, come prepared to do this work. So when it was time at mid-year, okay, have we grown a step? The goal in our school improvement plan was for each team to grow one step. It wasn't that we have got to get from starting to embedded. The goal was for each team to grow one place. You know, we're not trying to eat the whole bear. We're trying to move one step in each area. And you'll see, okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Again, you're seeing just our survey results, and we will wrap up at the end of the year. You know, because this was at the end of third quarter, we will, at the end of the year, each team will, okay, where will we go next year? Because as we know, some of our teams will be onboarding new team members. So what that looks like is, you know, because we created a culture for our PLCs, so what we know now is that may involve a step back for some of our teams. So what does that look like as our culture is now established? Okay, well, next year, we may move back a step, and that's okay because we're going to remain transparent. It's not about establishing a number, or we've got to be embedded. No, we've got to be honest, and we've got to know that this is a cycle, and we're going to continue in this growth mindset. So this is just, I just wanted to share that this is the process of how we do this work. Okay. So this is an example of some of the types of professional development. As we've been meeting in our PLCs, we do meet weekly. I am in there. Our academic coach is in the meetings every week. We are trying to, in the beginning, they were primarily, it was established, the work was primarily guided more by the coach and more by me, but again, depending on the work and depending on the needs of the students, depending on the needs of the team, that ownership is more moving to the teams. The stronger the team, the stronger the leadership, and the goal is the teachers are, they're running their own, and the voice in the room is the ownership of the teachers. That's the way it should be. One of the strongest things is we have still embedded in our schedule is the 90 minutes for that longer extended planning time once every 6 weeks. And those are things, just to continue to unpack those standards, create those extended assessments, continue to do that work. Because it really, yes, the planning time is nice for the 50 minutes a day, but once every 6 weeks, they need that extended time. And we've been able to work that in our schedule to stay committed to that work. But honestly, if I had to say what has really moved the needle for us this year, it's been, we have moved to a system where teachers turn in their lesson plans every week for feedback. Truly, that has made me, it has made them, it's made everyone accountable to each other. And it's not in any way a gotcha. We're going to all be accountable to these standards. We're all going to be accountable to this alignment process, and we're all going to be accountable to the feedback. They're in a shared document, and we're all giving feedback. We share them with the grade level. We share them with the grade level below, the grade level above, and so everyone is we're all giving feedback. So that's the one thing I would say that's moved the needle. And it's part of the professional development. Everyone, hey, this grade level has a really good template. Take a look. Let's Let's get it done. So, okay. Our biggest area of concern this year has been reading. And one of the things that we started to notice as we were doing our Lole visits was the level of rigor. It just wasn't there. I could be in a fourth grade classroom and notice that that same lesson could be picked up and taught in second grade. And so we started to think, there's just, okay, the teachers are working really hard, and it, on the surface, it looks aligned. But when you take a deeper dive, our teachers teaching to the full level of the standard. Not completely, not exactly. And so we had to get to a deeper level of understanding. And so we had to do some work around that. We had to do some professional development around that. And so what we did was we got clarity. We got clarity on the skills progression chart. So if you'll click. And what this did was we got real clarity about who teaches what and when in the area of reading. Who introduces it, who introduces the skill, so that when a teacher goes to teach that skill, not necessarily, she may not be the one that introduces it. So we got real clarity on who teaches what and when, and then who spirals back and how you do that. So hopefully I'm going to have some really good news to bring you guys next month about what this has done for us. So this is just an example of some of the kinds of work that we're doing in our professional learning communities. So keep going. So here are some of our data trends, the outcomes of our PLC work. It's measured around student achievement. And, you know, I'm not going to share some specific information about student achievement today, but again, we sort of look at things like student engagement as measured by our Lole visits, because again, if student engagement is up, then overall that impacts student achievement. So you guys can take a look. This is greatly improved over second quarter. You guys all have access to our comp plan. And again, our Lole visits, I asked Dr. Braybrand to go with me into some classrooms during second quarter where I had some concerns. And in third quarter, we still continue to go. We did start to do sweeps and look for trends in third quarter. And as you can see, we had high numbers around student engagement. We had high numbers where all areas of things are starting to come in place. We're not at 100%. We're not at 90%, which is the overall goal in the comp plan, but we are showing growth. So we're excited about where we're headed, and we're really hoping that it's going to really show some things towards student achievement. So here's where we're staying focused. We are staying focused as we close out school, as we move forward towards the end of the year. We have a lot going on right now. We have great optimism. Here just a few things that we're working on. We have really targeted plans for our small group review as we move towards testing. We have still math and science to go. We are being incredibly intentional. As we wrap up the school year, again, we're meeting still in our PLCs. Like I spoke before about onboarding, we have a couple staff changes, not anything tremendous. We are a very small staff, so even 2 or 3 people on a staff our size feels big to us. We have a couple people going on to take other positions in the division. We're excited about that. I'm always about promoting leadership in the division, so that's encouraging. But again, we're just as we always do, we are continued to focus on the whole child. So our performing arts program continues to thrive. We have applied once again for a 21st Century grant. We hope to hear about that, whether we get renewed for another cycle of that. But we are planning a robust summer program to, again, cut down on summer learning loss and cut down on an opportunity gap. Like I always talk about, some of our kids, even that do well academically, they still have an opportunity gap. So we are looking at a STEM program, a summer theater program, again, reading camp, math camp, just all those kinds of things to just close that for our kids. So anyway, that's what's going on at TC Miller, and I hope to bring you fabulous news next month.
Thank you.
Questions?
Board member, Dr. Coleman?
Yes, the drilling down and the attention to detail to determine what needs to be done, it certainly comes through with this report. Thank you for it.
Yes, sir.
When it says 82% student engagement, could you characterize what it would look like to be a non-engaged student? In other words, can you help me to know what would be a student that's not engaged, that didn't quite make it in this 82%?
Okay. When we go in a classroom, the criteria is if I'm in a classroom, we calculate the percentage of students that are talking. If we're in there, within the first few minutes that we're in there, how many students are talking and how many students are doing aligned work. How many students are with the teacher and how many students are actually talking, because the voice we want to hear in the classroom is not necessarily the teacher's voice. We want to have the students doing and talking, and we don't want, it's not, stand and deliver, the days are over. So that's how we measure it.
Okay, and you have strategies by which you seek to get those students
Yes,
over
that's
to
in
the
our
engaged side.
Relay tool.
Very good.
Yes.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Carter?
Looking at the starting for the principal's assessment third quarter, and some of the disconnect between the teachers thinking they're at one level and you thinking at another, but then also some of the developed pre and post tests is all starting. So what can be done to really get them to the next level, especially kindergarten, to really start them at a
Yes, and
gain
there's
some
no
traction?
Yeah, there's no, like I said, I do have some teams that are continuing to not be where we need them to be, and I have some strategies in place, particularly for next year, and those are, again, Dr. Braybrand and I have been in conversation with some of our teams all year long, and we are continuing to put strategies in place, and don't necessarily want them on camera here, but we can have an offline conversation about that.
One last thing. You mentioned your robust summer activity, and it is indeed that. How would persons know about it or get involved with it if they wanted to help in any of these summer endeavors?
Oh, we are always looking for volunteers. We would love to have, we work with our community organizations and anyone that's interested. Again, I'm Partners in Education, anyone that's interested in just contact me at the school. It'd be wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
If I could say,
Yes, you may.
Dr. Nellis, the level of transparency that the school board is seeing data at the level of a particular grade to say where they see themselves, where the principal sees, and the board member seeing the discrepancy, that's the work of a school division. You think you're here, I see you're here, that's principal leadership. And what we have to do, support at the division level to help principals with the coaches, central office staff, to help get people to get better at getting better at each piece. Some people are good at one part of the cycle, but maybe not the other part. And you're right, it begins in kindergarten, to first grade, to second grade. That's the foundation for really all the SOL results we'll see in third, fourth, and fifth. So one thing we've done, the first standard in this cycle is the unpacking of standards. We're unpacking the strategies of what will make folks successful. Before we could broadly say, do good lessons, teach good classes. What we've been doing with rubrics like the PLC, like Lole Cole, is breaking down in more detail. Well, this is what's going well, this is what could still be better. And I think it's helping our schools improve. But it was a great question, and it's exactly that. These are the exact conversations that we're having as we're going in schools, and then we're helping principals. How can we help build this team? How can we help strengthen this teacher? And that's a lot of what we've been doing with the coaching model that we brought in here the last 3 years. That we have coaches that are there to offer support about here's how you can do this better, either as an individual teacher or as a PLC group.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 125 children tonight that have met their AR goals, so I'm on my way now to an AR banquet to celebrate
Awesome.
them. So if
Very
you all
good.
will excuse me, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item C, the consent agenda, which consists of the school board meeting minutes from the April 22nd Student Discipline Committee meeting, April 26th It's April 20th, Discipline Committee meeting, April 26th, Student Discipline Committee meeting, May 2nd, regular meeting, and a May 8th Discipline Committee meeting. Includes personnel report and addendum, as well as the Cal Perkins funds for 2017-18. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. And opposed? No. Thank you. Brings us, we are now at student representative comments. I think we're at Ms. Page. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm trying to alternate, so.
I believe so.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. So, we are almost there. We've got a few weeks left. We're getting there. May the 4th be with you. Heritage celebrates Star Wars Day with lightsabers and our own droids, but beware, they are not the droids you're looking for. Pioneer Theater, our production of Tally's Folly, was the first show put on in our new courtyard. It was a huge success and showcased two of our seniors, Matthew Penalva and Kenzie Gunner. They each had over 300 lines and lengthy monologues. Matt's first monologue was 4 pages. It was intense. The International Festival, some of our pioneers helped out at the International Festival downtown on May 6th. Governor's School Awards, students from the Governor's School were recognized for their hard work this year. We congratulate them on their success. And as you all know, the top 15 seniors from both Heritage and EC Glass were recognized on May 6th at Randolph College. We are very proud of their hard work and dedication. Boys baseball. Luke Bryant is a senior on our varsity baseball team and was interviewed by the News in Advance about his injury early in the season and his determination to make this year his best. Virginia Council on Economic Education. Congratulations to Mr. Riley, Matthew Godden, and Nathan Pelletier, who competed in the stock market game. The team was recognized at a ceremony at the Federal Reserve Bank in Richmond on May 12th. Words of encouragement. We would like to thank James Howard, who is a 98 HHS graduate and a 2002 VMI graduate. He is president of Veterans and Athletes United and Reach Cycles. He spoke to our football team about overcoming adversity, and we thank him for visiting.
That's the end, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's the end.
Okay.
You're just going to leave them hanging,
I
huh? No mercy. No mercy here. Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Marshall, what's going on at Glass?
A lot's been going on. Very exciting things. Our Hill Topper of the Week for May 1st was Dr. Nan Valk Stockhup, the core director who has been teaching for 33 years. And she was nominated because the love she has for her students and her passion for music and teaching is truly amazing. She's like a second mother to a lot of her students, which is very true. I've been with her all 4 years at EC Glass, and she's amazing. And our concert choir just competed at King's Dominion last Saturday, and we came back as straight superior. So, yeah. And our Hill Topper of the Week for May 8th is Deborah Bain, and she's an English teacher at EC Glass. She was nominated because she works tirelessly to prepare students for success in her class and beyond. This is her first year at EC Glass, and she's actually one of the forensics coaches, so she's really cool. And these are some pictures from our Senior Honor Center. I don't think the video will play.
Oh, you were right.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
That was just some of the pictures on the TVs you have around the school. They'll show different teachers holding the pose. It's like, you can do it, Pastor, I saw you rock. And it's really sweet. And those are more pictures of the posters. And on May 9th, students arrived at school to find handwritten words of encouragement and messages on the sidewalks from the faculty as they prepared to take their SOLs. On May 11th, EC Glass's early college students graduate from the CVCC Early College Program. We're very proud. And Criminal Justice 1 and 2 welcomed Deputy Casey Rhodes from the U.S. Marshal Service. Deputy Rhodes educated our students on all of the aspects of the agency, as well as her own path to her current assignment. And Criminal Justice 1 and 2 hosted guest speaker Lieutenant Hill from Amherst County Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Hill is passionate about reducing DUI offenses, thus ultimately reducing fatalities from DUIs, which is incredible. And he's been the recipient of the MAD Award. And Criminal Justice, 15 EC Glass students participated in the Yom HaShoah service of the Holocaust Remembrance, April 30th at Avodah Shalom Synagogue. They are pictured here with the guest speaker, Cantor David Wisnia, survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camp. And Skills USA members from Drafting 2 and 3 and Robotics participated in the State Skills USA Leadership and Competition on April 29th in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And below are just a list of the winners. And these are some pictures from the prom we just had, which was really fun. I was fortunate enough to
Stop a minute on the prom picture for a second. I was like looking at prom pictures. Can we see the other picture for a second? Oh, sorry. It's the high school principal in me. Oh, those are very nice.
It was really fun. I was fortunate enough to be prom queen, which was really cool.
Congratulations.
And a great way to start the week, popcorn delivered by the SCA to kick off Teacher Appreciation Week. And on Tuesday, the PTO provided lunch to the teachers and staff during both lunches. And the administration would just walk around to the different classrooms and hand out donuts and little treats. It's really sweet. And thank you to the Virginia Lottery Thank a Teacher program for providing our staff with 200 lottery tickets in recognition of National Teacher Appreciation Week. And there is Mr. Mabry, and he's presented with a gift from Virginia Lottery Representative Catherine Cundiff. And on May 10th, Senator Mark Peake met with 2 championship teams from EC Glass High School in Lynchburg and presented them with the commending joint resolutions from the Virginia Senate. The golf team and the women's cross-country team were both 2016 Virginia High School League 4A state champions. And during the meeting, Senator Peake reminded the champions to hold on to these memories as they will be some of the best of your life. And this is just a list of the upcoming events we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I continue to be amazed at these young people, articulative skills. Going back to the young lady that presented doing the public comments, and these ladies. I mean, I just would like to go and learn under them. I mean, it's just amazing what we're seeing.
Okay, now we're at item E, school board committee reports. I don't know if there are any committees that have reports. Ms. Carter?
The Laurel Regional School completed the hard work and has formulated a budget. And also, that's pretty much it.
That's a lot.
That was a lot.
The finance committee met on May the 4th. We reviewed the draft for the school nutrition policy on unpaid meal balances. We talked about the fund balance plan for 2016-17 and being more strategic with that. And we also covered the insurance premium that will need to be increased for fiscal year 2019.
Ms. Mason?
Excuse me, the governor's school committee met recently, and that was the last meeting for the year. There will be student presentations at Lynchburg College on May 25th and 26th, and we're already planning for 2017-2018.
Great. Good. Okay, thank you. Brings us to agenda item F, unfinished business. First is health and wellness. Mr. Beckles.
Good evening. At our last meeting, Dr. Brabant had asked the Benefits Department to make a small presentation to the board as to what we are doing as far as wellness is concerned. So tonight I have the two benefits specialists, Krista Talmadge and Lucretia Young, to make a presentation on what we are doing as far as wellness is concerned. One of the goals for wellness is to help any which way we can our employees to reduce medical claims. So they'll present to you a snapshot of some of the things that we're trying to do, and most of these things will be implemented during the next coming year as what we entitle wellness initiatives.
Thank you all for having us tonight. Again, my name is Krista Talmadge, and this is Lucretia Young, and we are both benefit specialists here for Lynchburg City Schools. Both of us have been here about 3 years. So what we want to talk to you tonight about is our wellness initiative. Again, Mr. Beckles mentioned that our goal is to reduce the cost of our medical claims by encouraging our employees to invest in their own personal health and well-being. So if we work with our employees to make themselves healthier, in turn, then we'll hopefully be able to reduce our cost of our medical claims. So in thinking about this as a whole, one of the first things we did was create a logo. We've been working very closely, as you know, with the city because we now are on the same insurance plans with the city, and they have a wellness committee, which they also have their own logo for their wellness committee. So we decided one of the things we wanted to do first was to create a logo. So what you see on the screen is what we created for our wellness logo, mind, body, and soul. The idea is to try to encompass wellness for all aspects, not just physical exercise, but also the mind and the soul. So that's kind of what we were searching for, looking for when we created our logo. So one of the things we did, first of all, was to create a survey. We created a wellness interest survey and sent it out to all of our employees. And what I want to do in the next few slides is go over with you some of the important questions that we asked and some of the responses that we received. We sent it out again to all of our employees, and we received 590 responses. So what you're going to see is the responses that we received based on some of the basic questions that we asked. One of the first questions that we asked is, would you consider yourself to have a healthy lifestyle? 36% said they're already healthy. They didn't need any help from anybody. But we know how true that is. 36.5% said, okay, I've made some healthy behavior changes in the last 6 months. 25% were thinking about making changes to their unhealthy behaviors in the next 30 days. That being said, of course, our main focus would be that 25% to make sure we can push them in the right direction, but also keep the others in the other two realms continuing to be healthy and moving in that direction. The next question we asked was, if we were to offer incentives to get you to participate in a wellness program, what type of incentives would motivate you to participate? Of course, 86% wanted money, financial rewards and gift cards, and reduced premiums. 46.3% interested in t-shirts, fitness trackers, such as a Fitbit or a Garmin, water bottles, and lunch bags. 32% were interested in raffles and drawings for big ticket items. And 21.5% were interested in LCS paying for the Virginia 10-miler race entry fees. So that's something that we were looking at because we knew that the city as well has done that for their employees. A large number of our employees also were very interested in a discounted gym membership. So that is something that we have entertained in the past and we will be re-entertaining in the future to see if there's a gym in the area that we can hopefully get discounted membership fees. Then one of the last questions we asked was, what areas of health and wellness would you like more education about? 64.8% were interested in education about healthy eating and nutrition. 58% were interested in education about stress management, and 52% were interested in education about physical activity and weight management. So one of the things we found very interesting was the high number of people that were interested in education about stress management. A lot of the feedback we got was that, education, like all other areas, is very stressful. So any help that we could provide to them to help, reduce that stress, they were interested in. So those are definitely areas that that we're going to look at to try to see if we can pinpoint, now knowing what our staff members are looking for. So Lucretia's going to go through our response to these results and then how we're moving forward.
Good evening. So after reviewing the survey, we decided that we was going to create a wellness committee that includes wellness champions from each location. Also, we're going to collaborate with the city on some of their physical activities as far as their softball league, golf and bowling league, and volleyball and kickball. Also, like Krista had said before, we're going to also look into some stress management and then weight management solutions as well. And then on May the 1st, we launched the mobile health consumer app. And the mobile health consumer app is only for employees that's currently enrolled in our medical plan. So on May the 1st, we had 184 employees download the app, and of the 184, 117 employees downloaded the app and completed the health risk assessment. Now, as of today, we have 227 registered, and of the 227, 147 employees downloaded the app and completed the health risk assessment. All employees who downloaded the app and completed the assessment by June the 30th will receive a free LCS water bottle and cooling towel that will have the wellness logo the wellness logo that Krista showed in the previous slide. Also, we will be planning this year to pay for the January Virginia 10-miler as well, the race fees for our employees that's interested. And then also, we're going to be planning some quarterly activities, with some awards as well. So we haven't planned out the whole year yet, but please stay tuned for some fun activities and rewards as well.
You want to show the app?
Yeah. So now I'm going to demonstrate the app as well. So, and you can, the mobile health app gives you instant access to your benefit information. So you can utilize it from the computer, your tablet, or your phone. So it's going to look just like this. So I'm just going to go through it just to show you couple of highlights.
You'll see our logo that we created there as well as the regular LCS logo. So this was all specialized for LCS.
And you also, with this app, you can link your activity tracker. So if you have a Fitbit, you can actually link your Fitbit, and you can see your steps. So these are my steps. And then the health assessment. So in order to get the reward, which is the water bottle and the cooling towel, you will have to download this app, and then you will have to come here and complete your health assessment. So it's just a couple of questions that you will have to answer. But once you've done that, then you will get the water bottle and cooling towel.
And one thing I noticed after I did this assessment is based on how I answered the questions, the system actually. Okay, I'm a little stressed right now. So the system decided I needed special emails sent to me to tell me how to reduce my stress level, which I thought was interesting because I didn't know it was going to do that. So based on how you answer these health assessment questions, it will send you emails and different resources so that it can help whatever issues it thinks you might have.
And also later on in the future, we're going to be setting up some challenges for the Virginia 10 miler. So we might set up a challenge to, the city versus the school to see how many steps, the city get versus the city. The schools, I'm sorry. And let's see. And then,
full budget pass.
And then you also can go right here and see your ID card. So say if you don't have your card with you and you're at your doctor's appointment, you can just click right here, and it's going to actually show your medical card. It
might take a minute.
It might take a little while. Okay.
It might not work. It's down at the bottom. I see it.
Oh, right here. Okay. So that's your medical card.
And show them
and then if you go right here, you can actually see your deductible and your balance. So say you wanted to know how much have you paid towards your deductible. It actually gives you a nice little fancy chart. And then right here, you go to the mind, body, and soul. It's just going to tell you some events that we're going to have, like the water bottle, if you download the app. And then we have some other things that we're going to be doing between October and December. And then if you go to school resources, this is going to be where it's going to give you some information and link you back to our LCS's website as far as benefit questions. So everything is in one little app. Let's see. Then they also have some health videos and a library as well. So you can watch some videos on some health issues, smoking and weight management, and get some points for watching the videos as well. And then you also can see if you have any dependents, you'll see who's on your plan and things like that as well. All right. So in closing, I want you to just, I want you to think about this question. Are you taking steps for a healthier you? Please remember to eat better and move more. Any questions?
Dr. Coleman.
Thank you all. And obviously as a board, the healthy program is good for all of us. The 58% that talked about a need for education around stress management. I would just like to see more of how we're going to handle that dynamic. I noticed on the app that there was actually some videos for stress and depression.
Yes.
And I am not making any statement as to my thoughts around whether or not this is an issue or not as such. But I do know this, that as we try to work on getting our students, particularly even at the elementary level, to learn how to be respectful, they haven't quite acquired those skills yet. It can be very traumatic for teachers in a classroom. And maybe I hear more than I should. But I just want to make sure that a part of our health that I don't know how persons even like to talk about that, but mental health is critical.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't know who to turn to or how to deal with it, and sometimes don't even necessarily want to go back into the classroom. They're going to go in there, but there's trauma-related dynamics, and I really would love to make sure that our employees have that type of help and support that they can receive at the point that they need it without delay.
Other comments, questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you for this
Very
opportunity.
good.
Thanks.
It's like a nice app that's set up. Okay, that brings us to item F2, the health insurance reserve. This is for action tonight. Mr. Beckles, Dr. Brabrand?
Mr. Beckles.
Mr. Beckles.
At the last board meeting, I mentioned to the board the fact that our health claim expenses have been on the increase and continue to rise. They're at the point now where we have to withdraw some money from our health reserve. If you remember last week, I told you one of the things that we have done over the years is each year we've been building up the reserve, the health reserve, in the event we have 1 year that the expenses, the health claim expenses are greater than what we have budget. Instead of increasing the rates to the employees or increasing from as far as the employer is concerned, we would go to the reserve and withdraw those funds to offset the increase. That time has now come. Before you, I have a request to move $1.3 million from the reserve. The reserve currently is $1.6 million, which means we will have basically $300,000 left. Now, normally you don't get hit 2 consecutive years. As some of you in the was here, I've been saying for years, we've been having very good claims for the last 6 years, as a matter of fact, and we were riding along fine. But I knew one day we was going to get hit. Well, that one day has arrived. On the flip side, it's unusual to get hit 2 consecutive years with significant health claims. So assuming that still always holds, next year I expect it to go down. If it doesn't, then we'll have to address what we're going to do to offset that increase. But for now, we need to move $1.3 million from our reserve. And I would one of the notice I would like for if you can make that decision tonight so we can catch the next City Council meeting, which is on the 23rd of May. As you know, it goes to 2 readings before it's approved. That way we'll be in time for the end of year cutoff.
Or other board member questions or comments? Ms. Carter.
Mr. Beckles, so the amount you want to transfer is the amount that's needed, or is it a little bit over? Or
Be honest with you, that amount is not. The April bill we had it averaged out to be 900,000. It came in at 1.1 million. So we're hoping the next 2 months stay around $900,000. If it doesn't, then I think, as I mentioned last board meeting, I do have a plan B, but we'll take care of it out of this current. I will not be going back for the balance.
Okay, so this is for action tonight. What's the board's pleasure?
move that we approve the transfer.
Second.
So move and approve to transfer $1.3 million from the health insurance reserve held by the city to cover the health insurance claims. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, and we're ready to vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Motion's approved. Move on to item F3, request for reallocation of the budget. That is for action tonight? Yes. Mr. Beckles?
Last board meeting, I presented a request to reallocate funds from our existing budget to cover the items that are listed in the request. Nothing has changed from our last board meeting. So if anyone have any further questions since our last board meeting, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions or comments? No? Okay, this is for action tonight. Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and second to approve the request for allocation of the 1.371766 amount. Okay. Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Brings us to item F4, policies for non-resident employee student tuition waivers. This is for action tonight. Dr. McLean?
Yes. So good evening. Back in April, if you recall, we brought forward and the board approved policy JECR, or regulation JECR, an update around school admission, and we had noted that there were going to be some related other policies and regulations that would need to be modified to echo those changes. Presented this last meeting. So tonight we bring forward those to request board approval, and also we're requesting to be able to remove from the policy manual the form for non-resident tuition. We typically have not had forms in the policy manual, and that enables us to make changes as we go that are often minor and still align with the policy and regulation.
Okay. Board member questions or comments? Ms. Morrison?
I have struggled with this. I did not support the policy when it was presented. And since then, I have asked for additional information, and that information said that we have 98 students on the wait list for these schools of innovations. These are children of citizens of Lynchburg who pay taxes to support our school system. And I'm struggling with not having those students get into these schools that are on the wait list with a student who is not a resident of the city. I understand that we want to retain teachers. We want teachers to work and support their schools, but I have a hard time with not putting in a student from Lynchburg City into a slot. I know they're moving in as a zone student, but if you can move that person in as a zone student, you can certainly move in one from the wait list, particularly at T.C. Miller, where there are 53 students waiting. Dunbar, 29, 12, Desi, 29. These are parents who want of Lynchburg, who want their children to go to these schools, and I am compelled to support them. So I cannot support this.
Okay. Additional board member questions or comments? Okay. Dr. Coleman?
And we have to vote on this tonight?
This is for action tonight, yes.
Mr. Chair, could School Board Member Morrison, could you're not going to support it. I guess I'm hearing you, but I also know what I've heard over the times that this has come before. Is there any way to resolve this?
Well, Dr. Nichols, may I?
Yes,
share one comment?
certainly.
I would just say, Ms. Morrison, with all honesty, I was where you are now a few years ago, and the original policy we put in place did not allow this to happen. But in the last 2 years, what I have seen is teachers telling me, if you're going to not let me have this opportunity at my school, and it happens to be a school of innovation that others can have, I'm going to leave teaching in the school. And they've been strong teachers with multiple years in this division. So it's a Sophie's choice in my view, choosing between the residents of Lynchburg and trying to keep and retain great teachers. And I just feel like at the end of the day, all of our students are still having an opportunity to be a part of the Lynchburg City School system, and they need first and foremost great teachers, and I want to do everything I can to keep great teachers in Lynchburg City. But it is not I respect differences, and if the board, I hope the board can find consensus on this issue, but I certainly respect that there's differences of opinion. Dr. McLean, did you want to add something to my comment?
If I could.
Well, I was going to say, the policy's already been approved, and this particular item is for the tuition waiver for non-resident employees. So I'm sorry, you were gonna...
Sure. I was just going to give some updated information as we go through waves with updates as we put out invitations for families that have applied, and then some don't choose, or they've applied to multiple schools, and so then they pick one. So that number that you had around 90, I think there's in the neighborhood of about 20 or 25 additional folks who have come off the wait list since you would have had that information. When I think about requests we've received in the past and where those schools are, there are two situations that I'm aware of right now where it would conflict with that. That does not mean that there won't be others that come forward, but right now there's two that are known.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? If not, what's the board's need a motion with regards to this? It's the board's pleasure. Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the changes to policy JECZ, non-resident employee student tuition waiver, the associated regulation, and removal of the non-resident tuition form from the policy. Is there additional discussion? Okay. I guess we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed?
And I abstain.
Free country. Yes, sir.
Let the record show.
Okay. All right.
Let.
Okay. Motion passes. That brings us to item F5, school operating budget for 2017-18.
Thank you, Dr. Nellis.
Dr. Braber.
I'm going to let Mr. Beckles in a moment step you through a couple of documents for the details, but let me do an overall summary. The school budget I propose to you tonight does not take us backward as a school division, but I must candidly say it does not take us forward as aggressively as I would like. We need additional resources if we want to accelerate improvement in this school division, and we are improving. This budget gave us additional revenue from the state and from the city, with the city just passing, that equal to almost exactly the amount we had in our mandatory items that we had before the school board back in December that you voted and proposed on. So we are able to cover all of the mandatory items that we presented to you, maintaining the 2% raise we gave all employees January 1st, continuing to provide the additional VRS contributions so that we can be fully sound for our Virginia retirement system, dealing with the additional special needs student staffing requirements and alternative ed requirements where we see those growing issues of students with significant needs. Where this budget is falling short even for me is getting forward in the tier 1 items that we also presented. Tonight, I am only able to propose to you partially supporting one tier 1 item, and that is the salary market adjustment for targeted employees. As we have a citywide discussion about poverty to progress, we have folks working poverty wages. And so tonight, I am proposing to fund an additional 4% salary increase for our custodians, our bus drivers and attendants, our instructional assistants, and our grounds maintenance personnel. Those folks need to have additional salary increase. We gave them a 4% salary increase this year, and we need to move forward. That is still short of the full salary market adjustment we wanted to do. I recognize this board also wanted to see additional compensation for all employees. The 4% that I'm proposing tonight for those selected employees is coming only by using class size guidelines, both state and locally developed, and finding efficiencies in class size among our schools. There is not additional money for salary increases in this budget, and we got no additional revenue that would cover those areas. I am going to say to you tonight, as you deliberate on this budget, that it is my intention, I have talked to the city manager, it is my intention to bring this fall completely revised salary scales for all employees, including the teachers that you heard communicate tonight in the meetings before. We need to create a system where people can begin to step again on the step scales and not just slide. I'm confident that we can work on that. The city is not proposing any salary increase for its employees. It is only doing targeted market adjustments as well. They are commissioning a salary study completely for all city positions, and we will work collaboratively with them on this study for areas that may overlap with positions that overlap with their positions, while doing our own due diligence on positions unique to our school system. I believe, working together with the city, we will have compensation for our city and for our school employees front and center in the budget discussions for next year. And I know that is a lot of hard work that will need to happen locally, from involvement of our community and our teachers and all of our school employee associations, and also at the state level as we welcome a new governor into a new General Assembly. So I come with the glass, I choose to see the glass half full tonight. We didn't get everything that we wanted, but we did get additional money to fund the mandatory request and to make an additional down payment on the salary market adjustment that we began last year. And Mr. Beckles can take you through that in a little bit more detail and show you that information by category and the specifics, and then we'll be glad to take any questions.
Okay, the first document you would have is the budget request listing that we presented previously, but that totaled $3.7 million. What I've done is I've added a column 6. It's called funded requests. So right next to the original request, I put a column that says funded requests, and you'll see once it has a number, how much it was funded all the way down. If you turn really to page, you'll see that everything was funded up to page 4, totaling $2.2 million of the mandatory, and then you see 3 items under the tier 1 request, which is the market adjustments for the, well, I should say the 4%. Instead of the market adjustment, we gave the 4% for the transportation, maintenance, and IAs and those. So you see those 3 numbers there. If you look on the bottom of page 5, it gives you a summary of what the total additions are, and the total is $2.5 million. So that's the total that is now going to be funded out of our $3.7 million, $2,511,409 is what's going to be funded for this year, for next year's budget. I also gave you a what I call a budget expenditure sheet. It looks as to be the second set of documents in your. What I did is I started off on the revenue side with what our existing revenue budget is. I gave you the revenue adjustments. That's the increase. We have the state revenue increase, $1.3 million, and then you see federal revenue, miscellaneous revenue, service charges, the city funds of $1.1 million to give us a total revenue adjustment of $2.7 million. I did the same with the expenditure. I started off with our base budget and then added the $2.7 million that you'll see in the reapproved, we are presenting tonight, to give you a total adjustment of $2,576,409. You've also seen a number there of $619,000. They are cuts we made in the existing budget in order to help fund some of these changes. If you look on the bottom of page 2, you would see how I reconcile the total revenue that we got of $2.7 million, $554,000 in budget reductions, and that's how we funded the $2,511,409 of requests. So you see the difference there is about $99,000. So we just call it $100,000. So basically, the revenue that we got in matched the request, the total request that is being presented to fund for the next year's budget. The third, I guess the fourth sheet It's just, I broke out the budget request by the functional areas: instruction, admin, pupil transportation, maintenance and operations, facilities and technology, back to add to your $2,511,409 requests. So it's just a different way showing you how do those requests fit in the major categories that we have in our budget. At this time, if anyone have any questions, we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
We've kept in the 2% salary increase for employees.
Now, when you say cap in the 2%, you mean the
But we started in January.
Yes.
Yes, and continues.
Yes.
But we've also heard that health costs are going to rise.
I'm anticipating it's going up. Let me see if I can clarify that. Based on historical, I mean, this year it is up, no question about that. Will it be up next year? I'm hoping it goes back down. If it doesn't go back down next year, then we have to address that next year. So that's what I'm saying with that. I don't know.
But there is a possibility that it'll go up, and it would probably go up more than the employees would see the increase in their salary.
Unfortunately, that could be a true statement.
I would share with you on the benefits question, we are going to look at every alternative short of having to increase rate premiums. There are some other strategies that Mr. Beckles and I have talked about that we would try to employ before we would try to do a rate increase for our employees. We've had, what, 6 straight years?
I was just going to say, I mean, I know that looking at a potential increase next year is high, but when you consider we have, for the last 6 years, we have done everything we can not to raise the health insurance premium for employees. So they had a run of 6 years where there was no increase on the money they paid for their insurance. Although, and that's not to say we didn't have increases, we just were able to manage it where we don't have to pass that cost on to them. So yes, we have had 6 years of good run of no increases to employees. Hopefully we can maintain that next year.
Right. So I want to just restate for this board, it is not a fait accompli that we will have increased medical premiums next year for really 18-19. We're going to look at every strategy that could maintain the premiums as they are. But we really need to see the next 2 months of data. We need to look at some additional strategies and working with our consultant and some things that we might be able to get additional efficiencies through medicine. You see we're kickstarting our wellness program up. We recognize any increase in medical is really a takeaway from the salary increases that they've already received. I fully understand that.
Now, one of the reasons why I don't want the board to be caught surprised next year, so that's why I keep bringing it up periodically, so that you don't get caught by a surprise next year. Oh, where did this come from? So I just want to keep you aware of, to me that's the big item. So I want you to be aware of that. And we'll do the best that we can to minimize that increase as much as possible. But I don't want you to be caught blindsided by a potential that may be sitting there.
When I went through the salary scale and did a 2% of the salary and broke it down into 12 months, it was a really insignificant amount of money. I mean, it does not, and that was before anything, taxes or anything. And it's just, anytime we look at possibilities of that we're increasing, but we're not adding to salary, it's a significant concern. And you talk about stress for teachers, employees, all our employees, when they are looking at that salary and adding. I'm totally confused by information on this. I'm very grateful that you all are going to look at the scale and making steps as opposed to sliding. Right. I think, and including teachers in this is what really, I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Absolutely.
Participating in it.
So when we do the salary increases, is that for all teachers, including, for all employees, including the grant, like the 21st Century Grant employees? Or is that just for certain employees?
Mr. Broder? No, he knows the answer to this.
For our formula grants, Title 1A, Title 2A, Title 1D, and Title 3, we would absorb any pay increases to employees within the revenues that we receive from the federal government for those grants. So we have to budget for that, and we've done so in this with the increases that are proposed this year.
And for the previous year,
Yeah, in previous years. For 21st Century works a little bit different because those grants are on 3-year cycles. They're not grants that we count on as a formula grant for each year. So those years are 3-year cycles. So employees, the bulk of the employee funding that comes in those grants is in hourly wages before and after school and at non-school time. There's one salary that we capped for the 3 years, so we don't have that increase in those 21st Century grants.
One other thing, if I could, for the board on this. One, and we will, there's a time and place to go over the document you had. I will say the part of the confusion is what's your reference point, and people are choosing 2009.
Right.
I arrived in 2012. The prior 4 to 5 years, I'll have to recheck with Mr. Beckles, there was no additional salary increase of any kind. No step, no COLA, no nothing. We have had, every year since 2012, additional salary increase, mostly really a cost of living increase for our employees, every year. This proposed year now is the first year we would only be doing it for selected employees and not all employees. But we've had additional budget revenue for compensation every year. I take it very seriously. I just think it's important to reference what happened was a step system was put in place that was a tremendously wonderful step system, but was only funded for 1 year, if I'm correct, Mr. Beckles. The step system at that time was funded one year. So we've got to create a salary scale that allows our employees to move, and that's been the challenge. And the reality is we need to get to one, and we're going to propose one in the fall.
Dr. Berman, just one comment. When they implemented that step system, they slide the scale, but they never really paid it. Just for clarity.
Nobody has ever stepped on the system.
Yeah.
They added a step on the front end of it the first year because they couldn't afford anything. So it has not moved anywhere since inception.
I would just make sure the board is aware. If you go with the step system, that's an automatic increase every year. And just keep in mind how we get our money.
I know I've heard from several of the teachers that are in it was something that was stated to them. Once they reach a certain level, they will get a increase, and they have like 20, 25 years. They have never experienced that, and they have been working here to try to gain that, and they have not gotten that. Right. But the second thing was something you said about the classroom sizes. Can you explain that?
Yep.
What that?
Yep. At the state level, we have K-3 class size reduction. We have guidelines that it's all of our Title I elementary schools. Isn't it Title?
It's every school.
Is it every school?
Above a certain threshold of poverty.
Okay. That require class size to be maintained at a certain level, a low level of class size. Beyond that, we've developed local guidelines about our own staffing of where we want to keep class sizes low. We have competitors here in the city that cap their class size at 16 kids. Our highest poverty school with support from the state doesn't have class size as low as 16. So it is a challenge to try to maintain low class size, but also be efficient in the distribution of staffing. We did trims this year where we were over that recommended staffing level to help find the 4% for our lowest paid employees. We still feel, again, it is the balance, right? Did we reduce staffing or find staffing efficiencies in some places in the system to find the dollars for compensation, we did. We still have maintained class sizes in line with state and local guidelines, and still very, very low class sizes compared to anybody around us. Anybody around us. If you listen in communities around us, you're hearing higher and higher class size. We don't want to do that. That really is, that's the last option. But we felt strongly we needed to do something for our lowest paid employees who are at poverty wages. And we've got to get them to a better place. We've got to get everybody to a better place. And frankly, honestly, in 2017, we have a crisis in education because we are underfunding education at the local and state level. And until everybody recognizes, I was at UVA this week, UVA is graduating 8 candidates for math teaching this year in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 8 candidates. We are not going to be able to make it in education when we only have 8 people out of the University of Virginia that want to teach math. The state and our local leaders are going to have to wake up and see the reality that we are not attracting people to a profession that is lower paid than many other professions that don't even require a 4-year college degree. That is the reality. If I had the money, I'd be providing it tonight. It's just an issue of not having it.
I think the superintendent has made that point clear at City Council in his presentations. One thing I want to get for clarification, and I would like to make a statement. I see that this matter is for discussion. Mr. Chair, typically what happens after we have this discussion with the budget?
You mean tonight, or, if there's additional follow-up, people would forward questions to Dr. Brabrand, this will come up again at the next meeting, there'll be additional discussion, and then a decision.
Okay. I want to say that with regret, I would support this budget that has been presented tonight because I know it's hard. It was hard for us as a board to contemplate what we thought to be honest needs and to present them. And one of the things that I'm concerned about are what we call unfunded mandates, and the burden that is on our local school district, the correlation with the stress and the pressure for us to get better with very, very limited resources. And I, of course, can clearly see with my eyes that's something that I advocated for. Not just I, we. It would not be in there. And as I look at the dynamics, and I won't get into it right now, but there are more new requirements, there are expectations of this board, of this school district, and I'm just concerned about how we're going to get these things done. The community is going to have to be engaged, and so that's going to put a high level of stress. Whenever you have mandates and no money, and it has to be done, then somebody's got to do it. And so I just hope that as we get a chance to revisit some of these things, that we will begin to recognize. I am, as a board member, I'm saying that I feel as though there are high levels of stress around the areas of getting better at getting better. People are doing a very good job of being professional, coming up here, making their nice presentations around language that I have disdain for, failing schools and all of that. And so to that end, I hope that maybe for next year we can, I don't know if we can get started any earlier than we were able to with the budget process. I think that this board needs further education about the entire process. I don't know if I am skilled to be able to know penny for penny and dollar for dollar where everything is going, and whether or not that just simply trust my superintendent and the senior leadership that you're doing the right thing on that. But these challenges that I'm talking about are not going to go away. They've got to be solved. We're going to solve them. But this whole business of unfunded mandates, I hope that people in City Hall and around the state and in this community will help us or rally to help us to get what we've got to get done with the limited resources that we have.
Ms. Snyder?
I have a question and then a statement after that as well. In regards to what Ms. Carter asked, do you feel like your question was answered? Did you get full clarity on that?
Regarding the classroom, yeah.
I have a question regarding that. So are we saying that those were, did we have to take staff away in order to, how did we find those efficiencies?
Right. So what we did, for example, we went through, say, an elementary school. Class size is at 12. The state sets class size no more than at 18.
Right, I got that.
You could remove a teacher and you'd still be under a class size of 18.
What happened to that teacher, I guess is my question. That's my concern.
Okay.
We did, when we went through everything, we only posted today. We've held off on elementary until today. We had about 8 or 9 physicians that we were watching and some that we were cutting at schools because we were overstaffed at the building. Nobody lost their job. Everybody has a spot, and a lot of times what happened was somebody would resign in the school, and I think we only ended up moving 1 person. So everybody's still exactly where they are, and everybody's got a home.
Okay, thank you. So
just natural attrition.
Right.
That's good. Thank you. I think that's important for people to understand before they feel like they're accepting a raise based on somebody else not having. In regards to going forward with this budget, with regrets, I will also I will support it. I am disappointed, to say the least. I sat back in the beginning of May 4th, at the Poverty to Progress Symposium that the city held, and there were different sessions you could attend, and one of the highest attended sessions was the session on education. So it's clear that it is important to our community, and it's a need in our community, and it's a need to move our city forward. So it's disappointing to me that we were not able to get all the things that we need as a district and a division to move ourselves forward, when for years we've been asked by the city to get better faster. So, and I think we were and we will continue to do with what we have, and we'll do our best, but it's disappointing, to say the least. And thank you for doing everything you do.
I have a question, Mr. Beckles. Assuming the adverse trend in insurance continues or doesn't improve to the degree you expect, the premiums need to be increased? Or at what, the employee contribution for health insurance? When might you see that happening?
It'll be 2017. It'll be January 18.
In January, okay. So mid-year, middle of the school year.
What I'm going to do is watch the. By June, we'll have 6 months of actual expenses. I'm going to watch the claims coming in for July, August, and September. If those 3 months' claims continue to be high, that will be 9 months now that I have. There will be no reason for me to believe they're going to go down. So then I'll begin to say, okay, now, it's looking like we're going to have to do something in January 1. If those go down, then that delays that down the road. So that's the quandary that I'm in. When do you pull the trigger? So those 3 months, the first 3 months of the fiscal year, July, August, and September, are key months. If those continue to be greater than around $900,000 a month, then I would say projection would look like we're going to have a problem. It will be January 1 that I'll propose to be due an increase.
Okay. Dr. Sinan?
Question. Would some of this be due to like the aging of our workforce? So do we have longer tenure, older employees than younger that now are putting stress on or using more health services?
Here's what I could tell you. We have seen a significant increase in cancer illness. Now, which groups are having this cancer? I mean, we don't even go back in people's records. I only can tell you from the report that we're getting. So, I don't know why we're seeing more cancer this year than we've seen in previous years. And that's the biggest problem that we've seen. It's just an increase in the amount of cancer that we're treating this particular year.
Let me amplify that.
Well, I'm just going to say, one thing you could do to look at that is what are the demographics of our workforce, and if they continue to be shifting to older, we know that older people tend to get the cancers and cost more and use more of the health system. So that can be your predictor of where things may go in the future.
And if that does prove to be the case, there's not much we can do about that one.
If I could, on just that particular point, to amplify Mr. Beckles' response. And we'll get this data for you before the board would ever come to a decision. Over the last 5 years, school systems have been upping the premium rates on their employees year after year after year. The big untold story, outside of Lynchburg, find me a district that's had 5 years of no premium rate increases.
There is none.
There is none. We've been holding the line, and I have already met with Mr. Beckles privately on some additional strategies short of a premium rate increase that I'm just not ready to discuss tonight publicly, that may be able to help us hold off on increases. So we take it very seriously. We have the best benefits package in the region, one of the best in the state. It's only gotten better with our move in the last 6 months to Anthem, and we want to keep that as a strategic advantage for this school system. There's no doubt about it. And if I could just relay one other part, a board member talked about unfunded mandates, and I probably didn't say it clearly. There's more the local can do, and we recognize the local is often the last resort. We recognize there's more the state can do. When you look at this budget, a lot of it is driven with students with special needs or special education students, and the federal government funds 18 cents on the dollar. Mr. Vanderwerker brought you data earlier this fall of a swing, almost $6 million swing in costs being distributed from the feds to us. So that is where there are mandates to provide services, and we want to provide services for those kids, but it is expensive, and special education remains a huge cost piece of every school system's budget in the Commonwealth and frankly around the country. And we're not immune from it like any other system. And that remains one of the challenges as we talk about unfunded mandates.
I have 2 points. One, I want to follow up with what Mr. Polly, I think, was at our last meeting, in a finance meeting. I also advocated for a risk manager because of the workman's comp and the amount of money that we are not getting back from our investment in that whole process. But that is also a significant amount of money, and we have seen an increase in that as well. And that are not able to find a position to help with safety training and that kind of thing. The second point that I'd like to make, and it's just a suggestion, that as we're looking at staffing, that we look at all staffing positions. Are there positions that can be combined where we have two people doing something and one can do it? I just think we talk about teachers and class sizes, but I think we need to look at all employees in terms of what we're doing, and if we have added positions over the years, are they paying off? And I think that's important, that we not just talk about teachers.
Can I address one? I think Dr. Coleman made a comment. I just want to make sure the board and Dr. Coleman is assured of. Every line item that you see we've listed on the budget proposed list goes for exactly what it says it is, unless something materially changes. There have been no time since I've been here that whatever was listed on the budget list didn't go for exactly what it said. In fact, I remember 2 years ago, we were at a city school joint meeting, and one of the questions the city council asked, what did you do with your, how are you on your budget request? And that was the October meeting. we had fulfilled, we had spent every item that we've had on here. They were a bit surprised. Well, no need to be surprised. We put them on there because we need them, and we got them. So I can assure you, every item that we put on this list goes for exactly what it says it is, unless something significantly changes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this will come to us at our next meeting for action. We have no new business, so that brings us to superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Dr. Nellis. I wanted to share with you just a couple of quick things as we wrap up. One, SOL testing is going on. Many of you know that, as is AP testing. But our SOL testing is going smoothly. We have had no issues with technology. I know a couple of years ago there was some adjustments as we were bringing in Chromebooks and the state was adjusting its software. The state has caught up with software that really integrates greatly with the Chromebooks, and it's going very, very well. Online summer school registration will be occurring from 5:30 to 7:30 in the cafeteria at Heritage High School on May 18th, which is just 2 days away. So Thursday at 5:30 at Heritage High. If you want to do summer school, there's online summer school registration from 5:30 to 7:30. We've already talked about our wonderful kids doing well in National History Day and in Career and Tech, and I think we have some additional winners at the science level, and I just wanted to recognize a few kids from there. There were several that were listed at the national level for the Broadcom Masters competition at the Regional Science Fair, and that included Jack Pitts at Dunbar Middle School and Kay Streisky at Dunbar Middle School. Ryan Weich got a Excellence in Communication Special Award from Dunbar Middle School. And Kay also received one from the National Biology Teachers Association. And we saw Dylan Maying win a Naval Award, and we saw two Dunbar students, again, Jack and Kay, getting a Virginia Dental Award, as did Margaret Townsend from Lincoln Middle School. So nice to see them doing well. We had a third place winner in chemistry at Lincoln Middle School, Margaret Townsend. We had Dylan, who I already mentioned, and I think it's a sister, Melanie, at Lincoln Middle. Both got second and third place in engineering. In environmental sciences, we had Lynchburg City Schools win all the top three. Grayson Arnold at Sandusky Middle won first. Lily Jambloski at Dunbar got second, and Maya Lewis at Sandusky got third place in environmental sciences. And in veteran zoology, Kay Streisky got first place from Dunbar. Jack Pitts got second in physics. We already referenced him with some special awards. And then in plant sciences, we got second and third place, Annie Townsend at Lincoln and Justin Wingfield at Sandusky. Congratulations to them. We have our big staff appreciation dinner coming on June 7th at 6 o'clock at EC Glass. We will recognize our Teachers of the Year, our Support Employees of the Year, our retirees, and our Service Award winners. I encourage school board members to come out. It's a great evening to have the whole Lynchburg City Schools community there, and you talk about morale building. When I arrived, this was something you had to pay for to attend. We've made it open to all employees, no charge, and we have a great program where they're recognized. We then have a great dinner, and then there's some music and some dancing, though this superintendent has learned not to do any more dancing at that program. But it's a fun time, and we really get a chance to celebrate our people and say thank you for a job well done as we wrap up the end of the year. That's June 7th, 6 o'clock, EC Glass. I know there's a lot of graduations going on that you already have, and of course Heritage and Glass both graduate on June 11th. But I wanted you to know that the Empowerment Academy this year too will have a graduation, and it will be on June 12th on Monday at 6 p.m. at Heritage High School. And I hope many of you will be able to come out for the first graduating class of Empowerment Academy.
What time?
6 p.m., June 12th, Heritage High School. And I just want you to know I came back along with Mr. Copeland from attending the VAST Annual Spring Conference. We heard a lot of wonderful speakers that we're going to give consideration to add to the wonderful speakers we've brought in before. And one of the things that I left with out of that I want to leave on a positive note tonight is we had different folks from around the Commonwealth, superintendents, talk about really igniting their passion, what keeps them going, even when there are challenges that are significant like we discussed tonight. And I think that's what all of us have to do, board members around the table, leadership team members, principals, teachers, anyone in education. There sure are challenges. Some are at the level of a crisis, but it isn't something that with the right leadership and the right support that we can't solve. We know what to do to solve it. We just have to have the courage and leadership to do it. And we got to hear from individuals talking about what keeps them going. And it was very inspiring. And I'm going to look at how we can incorporate that kind of conversation here, because I think it will help. Almost like Ms. Snyder said, I too was impressed at how many people came out to the cities from poverty to progress, and how many overflowing in the education sector. Our community values education, values public education, and wants to help. And we just need to keep showing the pathway forward for them to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments. Dr. Coleman.
Do this very quickly, Mr. Chair. The honors program that several of us attended was outstanding. Dr. Nillis and Dr. Brabrand had excellent presentations as those young people were honored, and Jody Gillette is just sensational with that event, and to see all of the colleges continue to support, and the fact that Virginia University of Lynchburg is supporting that event is a wonderful thing. I do want to also indicate that there is a need for us to continue to get out, and I'm trying to get out to the schools around the equity piece of getting the parents and the community involved, and that is underscored at an event I'm attending this week in Hampton, and just to see why that's important to prevent the school-to-prison pipeline and mental health issues that are going on that may adversely affect the African-American community in particular. And I do want you to know, Mr. Chair, that I drove all the way back from Hampton to be at the board meeting tonight. Since I have a football team opposing me in the reappointment, I thought I'd better be at the meeting. But I am very, very concerned that we keep on working diligently in those areas. And I want to lastly thank Mr. Copeland and Ms. Babb for these nice pins here that I will wear proudly wherever I go, and for the fine work that you all are doing.
Ms. Carter?
I was able to go to the Lynchburg City Schools Education Foundation to see the different ways that the teachers are using the grant funding for innovation for the schools, and that was awesome. One was, I forgot the school, Hutcherson, where they had the kinetic sand, which is the way they use that, and also the other devices for the students, and all that was just really interesting to see that going to work for the good for the students, for the good of the students. And also the honors dinner, to see the top 15 students from each class, each high school, was great.
And where they're going to college.
Yes, where they're going to college.
Nobody did JMU for some reason.
No one went to Sweetbriar either, but we'll work on that.
Any other? I'll take my my slot here and remind everyone we have a closed meeting after this one, so part of my comments will be we have our next board meeting will be Tuesday, June 6th here in the boardroom at 5:30. There are additional upcoming graduations. The Adult Learning Center at the Miller Center on Grove Street is May 25th at 7 p.m. Laurel Regional Schools graduation in the cafeteria June 5th at 7 p.m. The Fort Hill Community School in the cafeteria June 7th at noon. And the Heritage High School graduation in their air-conditioned field house, which will be totally awesome, is June 11th at 8:30 in the morning. Air conditioning at 8:30 in the morning will still be appreciated. And EC Glass graduation in the auditorium at 3 p.m. on June 11th. Okay, there being no further...
Mr. Chair.
Oh, you're done.
No,
You all used up.
Yes, my brain is... listen, I have to do this because I promised these parents. Zamaya Word at Darrington Elementary got a 600 on her reading score, and Amaya Page passed her history SOL. She had been struggling with that. And I just bring that up because that is something that we are focusing on, and to see the accomplishments of these young people is just so wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we need to enter into a closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia, Section 2.2, 3711A1. The school board needs to convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following specific matters: employee performance. I need a motion to go into closed meeting. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so we are in closed meeting. Thank you.